Hello everyone and welcome to Universal Woo Woo. I'm Joanne Bennett.
And I'm Roger Baines, and this is the show where we discuss how situations and things affect your life, your world, and your universe.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Universal Woo Woo. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Roger, and this is a show where we talk about everything that affects your life, your world, and your universe. I also want to thank everyone that's joined the UWW community. Thank you and welcome. So what's the show going to be about today, love?
Well, today we have a really juicy subject for you, a hot topic, and I'm not just talking about Roger. We are going to be talking about what it means to be awake. So, Roger, are you woke? Because, you know, we hear about this right now in Hollywood. We hear about, Willow Smith and the Smith family and Jim Carrey and Russell Brand. All of these people seem to be going down that path and say that they are awake. What does it actually mean to be awake?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because often you hear it, but no one ever, or at least I haven't heard anyone that's defined what that actually means. And I want to also emphasize these people that we've just mentioned, or the industry, usually it's Hollywood, they're just a reflection of what's going on within the greater community. They didn't invent the term, and they're not the first ones to become awake. It's coming from us. And whether you realize it or not, every trend, everything that happens, or I should say, most of it comes from us, because they are basically appealing to us for our attention. So I just want to make that clear, that it isn't being created, this awakeness and this whatever is causing these terms and these particular trends that we're seeing. The trends come well after the fact. So what does it mean to be awake? And it's just my opinion, just my idea. And it's based upon my life and what I observed in others and in my surroundings. For me, being awake means that, unlike before that time, you are aware of things that you weren't aware of before. These things aren't new. They didn't just happen. It's just that you didn't notice them in your environment before, and now you do, in all kinds of facets. Now, what are we talking about here? You're born, right? And when you're born, and you learn by mimicking your parents and the people around you. When you get old enough and you can speak, you're told certain things. For example, let's just use an example that we've all experienced, right? Hey, you're about to go to school. Go to school so that you can learn to write and read and do the things that we can do, right? And of course, you want to be like them, so you do it. So you go to kindergarten, and you go to first grade, second grade, and third grade, and so on. And you're incentivized by going, well, you want to do really well in first grade, because then you can get to second grade, and then you'll be a bigger person, you'll know more. And the idea is to have you feel that you'll be more important. And there's nothing wrong with those things, right? That's a good thing.
But it's still that feeling of you never ever good enough either.
Yeah, you're always striving for
better,
something else in the future, right? And you can take that all the way out to college. Go to college so you can get a great job, so you can meet the right person, so that you can support yourself. And these things are good. They're great because we need that to be able to survive. But then you're also told, this is good because this is what's going to make you happy. This is what's going to fulfill you.
Yeah.
This is what's going to give you all the things that you need. It's going to help you support your family. It's going to help you. It's going to help you do everything that you need to have a happy and successful life. So all kinds of things can be thrown into this box that can make you happy. Have this kind of religion. Have these kinds of belief systems. Be around X kind and types of people.
Have this kind of job. You know, drive this kind of car. Own this kind of house with a pool. Blah. You know. The house with the white picket fence and 2 children and all of that. And I'm just painting a picture. It's different for everyone. It might be different for you. But you have all these things that you're told that you need, and they've been planted there, not only by your parents, but by your schools, by your media, or by everything. Our surroundings tell us that. And then one day you come to the realization that maybe you don't have all of those things, but you have all the things that you want, or and that want is based on what you've been taught and told. What you think you want.
But you're not happy. Your life isn't as they said it would be. You know, even looking at everything, you've done it all. And there's got to be something more. That's what's going on in your mind. And what then happens, you go, in my case, there's got to be something more to it than this. Because none of these things, my lifestyle, my possessions, and by the way, I was never really wealthy with a ton of possessions or anything of that nature, but I had all the things that I wanted, and none of them made me happy. None of them. So when you say to yourself, there's got to be more to it than this, you start looking elsewhere. All of a sudden your eyes change, because the job that you have that you were told would really, really make you happy doesn't work. You start taking your gaze off of that. And you start focusing on that what else is there question, right? And then when you do that, you start noticing other things. They've always been there. They've always been there, but your focus has been elsewhere. And all waking up is seeing things just the way they are, not the way someone told you, not the way you grew up, not the way you think, not for any other reason, but as they are. And when you see things as they are, the awakening process begins. Because that's all awakening is. Seeing things the way they are. And not fooling yourself into whatever it is that the world wants you to believe that they are. And then when you do that, your mind goes to work. And the wheel starts to turn. And then you start seeing things for what they are. You start seeing education the way we've been taught for what it is. You find out that 9 to 5 that you've been working, paying the bills and all of that, you have it, you're making the money you need to survive, but you have little time for anything else. Someone else is making better, is getting richer and better off than you with that time that you're spending than you are. Then you start wondering, well, maybe my time should be used differently. And you create different things. And so this woke thing is always associated with spirituality. I want to bring that in. And it is, because when you awaken, it's not just spiritual, it's everything. And bearing in mind, I'm the guy that says everything's spiritual. Oh, I'm spiritual and you're not. That's just an egoic thing. Everyone's spiritual. It's just like, you may not accept it, that person may accept it, this person may accept it, but everyone's spiritual. It's just to the degree that you entertain your spirituality. That's all it is. So you start seeing things from a physical, a spiritual, emotional, and mental. You start seeing the whole picture. You start seeing the whole picture, and you start questioning all the things that you were taught, and that questioning brings answers, and they come in all forms. You might hear someone talking. All of a sudden someone shows up in your life and they start talking about the things that you've been thinking of. I was talking to a woman the other day, and I forget what the subject was, and I just had this urge to talk to her about it. We were talking about different things, and I mentioned it, and she said, you're the fourth person in 2 weeks to talk to me about that. See? There were questions that she had in her mind, and we're all connected. We're all connected. And suddenly the right people, the right circumstances, the right situations, I call them synchronicities.
Mm-hmm.
They're not coincidence. If something happens once or twice, that's a coincidence. Yeah. But when they happen time and time again, and they're in line and in sync with what you've been thinking or what you've been wanting to know, that's a synchronicity. And you must pay attention to it, because it's giving you what you need to get you to the next level of understanding and awareness. So I know it's been a long little talk about what being awake is, but it's one of those things that you have to go into many directions to really give a full picture and connection about it. And notice I didn't get all mystical with you, because most things are grounded in logic and reason. Mm-hmm. It's not an out there thing to be awoke. It's not that person's special to be awoke. Being awakened is your birthright. And right across there on the wall in the office, there's a quote by Buddha that says, there is only one moment in time when it is essential to awaken. And that moment is now. That moment is now. And awaken, as I repeat really quickly, it's just being aware of things that are in your surrounding, including yourself, and looking at them just as they are. That's all awakening is. And there's another level to it, but I want to make sure. So babe, what's your idea of being awakened? Because I know you have different ways of putting things than I do. And
well, I mean, for me, it's kind of like I can only describe it as being blinkered before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of like this tunnel vision and not really seeing the whole picture. You know?
Yeah.
So that for me, because kind of like from a kid, I've always been, but at the time didn't really realize that I've always been around, spiritual kind of people from a kid, and they kept turning up. And I'm not talking about like, my long distant cousin or whatever. No, these are significant people in my life, like best friend, mum's best friend, and all through they've kind of been showing up, and I've ignored it, almost like my spirit, my higher self, hello, I'm here, and I'm like,
it's like the synchronicity thing I just mentioned with that woman. Yeah.
I mean, just take for instance what we was talking about a few shows back was the spider thing. When I first was dating Roger, and these spiders kept showing up. Before I would have thought, oh my god, the fear of spiders, it's just my arachnophobia, get over it, but I kind of stopped and paused and thought, hold on, this is happening way too often. Let me look into this. There's something in this, and there totally was. And that's, we covered that on the show. So that
covered that
kind
on
of thing.
The first show.
We did, yeah. And that's kind of, for me, like being awake is definitely, I see things differently. I hear things differently. I react to things differently. And also with that being awake, and this is another show that we've got coming up in the future, is about gratitude. because at the time before I become awake, we take things for granted. As we said, we think that being with a 6 foot, dark, tall, handsome stranger who's a millionaire who drives a Ferrari and's got mansions all over the world is going to make you happy. No. The pool, the mansion, the money, the perfect job is going to make you happy. Not true. You are the only one that can make you happy. And I cannot stress that enough. I cannot. So many, especially, and obviously it's a work in progress. I'm not perfect but being awake has made me realize all these things don't make me happy. Something, just for instance, a few weeks back, I had, without going into too much detail, I had nephrostomy bags, like tubes coming out of my kidneys. So at the time, I had them for like 4 weeks. And at the time, I couldn't shower properly. I couldn't bath, couldn't submerge. So I couldn't shower my back properly because I couldn't get the wet. When they came out, those tubes, and I got in the shower for the first time and let that hot water run down my back, I actually cried and had tears because this overwhelming gratitude just for that water to be touching me and be able to do that again was unbelievable. And that's my idea of bliss, living in my bliss, being joyful, being grateful for what we have. We have so many things. We have so much right now. And we take it all for granted. We do. We totally do. We want instant gratification for everything, We only talked about, just for instance, going off subject a little bit, we only talked about when you was a kid, I don't know if you remember, you used to send off the film to Super Snaps or whatever it was called in an envelope, and you had to wait 3 to 4 weeks before you got your holiday snap, your vacation snaps back pictures.
They're pictures, like if you took, how you take a photo, because I know you're from the old country, so you're using snaps, terms that someone from England is going to understand, but maybe someone that's not from there is going to. What you're talking about back in the day. Yeah. I'm talking to the Americans now. Is you take photos and you would have to send off the proofs or the film and you send it off in the mail to someone else who would develop them and then send you the photos back, and that was 2-3 weeks, sometimes a month, before you saw what the photos that you took looked like.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the thing I'm saying about, and it all boils down to gratitude, and we have so much and we don't appreciate things. And being awake has made me realize that it really isn't about the money, anything. It's the simple things. It's the simple things, like, wow, I'm so grateful to be able to, at this time in my life, not worry about a business, have stress, worry about the rent. I'm so grateful and very, 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 very happy that I'm in that position. But that's what I'm saying. For me, that's what awakening means, is that, I am grateful for the things that I have in my life. I give gratitude to that. I am more aware of everything. So, for instance, before, if I had an argument with someone, I'd be angry and I'd be have to get the last word. But now I can sit back and actually think about it and sit with it for a minute and question it and realize it's not worth that anger. Let it go.
What is the last word has ever done for you? You don't even remember it. A day later. The argument,
exactly. It's not worth it. It's not.
You start seeing, again, that goes to seeing things the way they really are. So when you're awake, suddenly you react differently because you are seeing things in a way that you didn't see them before. So you don't give your energy to things that are not worth it.
Yeah.
To people, I'm going to be straight up, to people who are not worth your energy.
Main culprits.
Yeah, to things that are not worth your energy. Mm-hmm. To activities.
And you notice as well, I don't know whether you've noticed since you've been awake, but people drop off in your life.
Yeah, you start seeing, you start realizing, well, this person, when you know more, you do better, you expand more. So when you're doing those things, suddenly what happens on an energetic, because it's not just physical. When you're aware, and I don't really like the term awaken, but I use it because that's the term that's used. It simply means you're more aware. So when you're more aware, you make higher quality decisions than from when you're less aware. That makes sense, right? You know more, you're gonna make better decisions. At least that's the goal. So when you're more aware, you make better decisions. When you make better decisions, they change your life and basically carve your life in a different way. And so when you make those better decisions, they create better situations, and better situations create better selections or choices, improving the kinds of decisions that you make. And that's one of the ways that you grow, not only physically, not only mentally and emotionally, because you're making better decisions, which means the relationships that you have are going to be better because what you're actually doing is better. The people you encounter are people that are going to be on the same awareness path as you are. So therefore, they're going to see in a greater spectrum, just like you are. And so what happens just energetically, those who make the kinds of decisions that you were making before will tend to, it's a vibrational shift. Vibrationally, you're going to shift in a different place, and they're going to shift in another place, and there's going to be a separation there. And that's what falling off means. It just means that vibrationally they're in a different spot than you are.
But as well as people falling off, also new people come in that are meant to come in.
Exactly. That's
like, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how it works. And that's where growth comes from, both spiritual. That's how you'll hear me talk about growing your consciousness a lot on this show, increasing your consciousness. That's just one of the ways that it's done. It's literally done by making better decisions, which lifts you up emotionally. And now those emotions that used to be the banes of your existence, anxiety, worry, those quality decisions will start to affect those emotions.
God, that's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show, which we're gonna do. But since I went down the road, I'll just increase it just a little bit. I'll just talk about it a little bit. They because now when you make those decisions, the consciousness that is you, is the CEO of the whole thing. Whether you're a poor CEO and your emotions rule you, or your mental states have control over you, you're still in charge. It's just a matter of, do you take control of all of that? But when you start to increase and make better decisions, suddenly you start working on those aspects of yourself, and your anxiety, worry, and grief, and maybe even some of the emotions that you're holding on to, you'll make the decisions that'll make you more one with yourself. You'll start doing the things that'll take care of those issues, because all of a sudden you'll start to realize, unlike before, that carrying too much anger, carrying too much anxiety, and all of that is affecting your life. It isn't the person over here and what they're doing, the person over here and what they're doing. It's what's going on inside here. And that's exactly how it happened for me. And then you'll start doing the kinds of things that'll bring you closer in harmony with your emotions, your mind, and your body.
Even things like, and we'll touch this again in depth in another show, but things like, when people say, oh, I'm broke, I've not got any money, I've never got any money, they're actually putting out there that they've never got any money. They're always broke.
Yeah.
That whole vibration, that whole energy is you're basically making a statement to the universe, I'm always broke, I haven't got any money. So that kind of, of thing. So, and we'll touch on that in another show, but that's the whole, that's a good subject.
Yeah, we're going to let's touch on that really quickly. And getting more in depth, I don't want to get more in depth on that, but how you can understand your situation and accept it no matter what it is. Because if you are broke and you haven't got whatever it is that you want to have, in this case, the finances you need, you don't want to lie to yourself and say you have it when you feel deeply that you don't. But what you can do is accept that, and there are things you can do to work from that position where you feel you have lack to eventually to where you start bringing the things that you want. Now it takes work. It doesn't happen overnight. We're not going to tell you do this and do that and everything will change overnight. It's always going to be a work in progress.
You have to put in the work.
Possible.
It is definitely.
You put in the work.
You have to put in the work. If you're willing to put in the work, then, as I say, anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Yeah. So to get back to the awakeness or woke
woke is a thing that seems to be popular with youngsters at the moment.
And all of this is being more aware. And once you're aware, I kind of touched on it on growth. Then once you're aware, you need to take the kinds of actions based on that information that's coming in from the higher awareness that was not there before, and taking the actions of those awarenesses is how you grow spiritually. And it's how you grow spiritually, and you're never on your own. Even if you're by yourself, you're never on your own. You have your ancestors. Things we'll be talking about that as well. You have the greater part of your mind that's beyond the psychological mind that we all think about mainly when we talk about the mind. There's much more to the mind than just what we even know. You are much, much, much more than you can imagine. Much more. You're not just a physical being. You're a spiritual being. And when your body falls away and you go back to the earth, it goes back to the earth, you will still exist.
You're a spiritual being having a human experience.
Exactly.
So that's really what awake means.
Yeah.
And talking of being more aware, as you know, my mission, and I'm going to bring this up on most shows, is to empower women and bring out the goddess in all of us women and make sure that we are all aware of what's going on down there. But I just want to touch on one thing as well, is that men's health as well. Roger, when was the last time you checked your balls?
You dropped that one. Oh my God. Okay. I have to be honest. I have done it before. I was very good at it, but I haven't honestly done that in a while. And I'm glad you reminded me here in a public space.
That's cool. Yeah. Yes. So if you're watching this, go ask your husband. Don't have to be his crystal balls. Just say, when did you check your balls? It's the thing that we don't like talking about. Same as women. When did you last have a pap smear? And I want to get this across. I cannot tell you enough, stress this enough, how it can help so much working on yourself, being more aware, giving the yoni. And talking of yoni, if you want to know what a yoni is, yoni practice, I'll put a link. There's a video and I explain that. I want to let women know that, being more aware of what's down there, self-love, self-care, because portal of life and it's very, very important. I'm so glad Roger was honest about the old checking the balls. So yeah, just bringing that up just to make sure that all you women and men, you know, women remind you men, and men remind you men, or do it yourself. Have a little fondle. There we go. Just make sure everything's hunky-dory.
I think you meant to say women remind your men. But if you have a man and you have a man in your life,
well,
still
men
goes,
remind you
still
men.
the
That's
same.
why I said men
Exactly.
remind you men. Well,
Okay, yeah.
you know, that's all good.
Exactly. So, before we end the show, I'd like to talk a little bit about past life regression, and it's quite suitable as well in the awakening process, because the more you know about yourself, that's actually the most important thing in being more aware. It's being more aware of who you are, beyond what you see in the mirror physically, beyond your education, beyond whatever it is that is really tangible in your life. Knowing what your subconscious has to tell you about yourself, which is coming from you, is extremely important. And one of the best ways to do that is hypnotherapy. So if that's something that you're interested in, contact me. We'll leave a link to the website, or you can email us and contact me, and we can arrange past life regressions, and we can do it over telecommunications, teleconferencing like Zoom, GoToMeeting, and some of those other programs. And it's a fantastic way to know more about you from yourself.
And we'll touch that next show.
Yeah, and the next show that we're gonna get in depth on what a past life regression is, what a past, future, and all of that. Just getting that information that you can kind of go on that's specifically for you, and use that information to propel you to the next levels of awareness or growth.
And I've had a few sessions with Roger. I can't say that without thinking it's funny. That's the Brit in me, you know, Benny Hill and all that humour. But yeah, I have had some past life regressions with Roger, and it's been amazing. The things I found out was unbelievable, as I think I mentioned before in one of the shows, that, you know, it's unbelievable. I found out why I was this way, why I reacted this way, my emotions, why this always happens. It's unbelievable, the things that you can find out. So we'll cover that in the next show. But before we go, we have a Peaches update.
Peaches update.
Peaches, in case you didn't know, is our show's mascot, and she is my juvenile tarantula. And she's not really been up to much lately. She's actually going into pre-molt, so she's she's off of her food. She's very sluggish. I think because I've been feeding her too much. She's been eating some superworms that are kind of twice the size of her. So really not much to update on Peaches, but as some of you know, I also have jumping spiders. So this is Maybelline. She surprised me with an egg sac that she laid in this bucket. She went in this bucket for 4 weeks, and she emerged a week ago, and we have around 300 little baby jumping spiders. They haven't all came out yet, but we're just waiting for them to come out, so I will update you on that. But that's like huge news. We're spider parents. So that's the news on the spider, all things spiders. And you know, I'll update you on the progress of Peaches as things move on, if she has another molt.
So folks, that's it for this show. Thank you for watching. And until the next video, remember to keep working on, working within.